2015 edition of the Scotiabank Calgary Marathon, Canada's longest running marathon. We've got an exciting morning in store for you today. We, of course, have the Scotiabank Calgary Marathon, but also the Centaur Subaru Half Marathon and National Half Marathon Championships. Very excited to be here this morning with my co-host, Krista Duchesne, who is Canada's second fastest female marathoner. Krista, over to you for the race.
Yeah, I think we're going to see an exciting race today. We've got Reid Coulsat, Kip Kangogo, and Kelly Wiebe who are going to likely lead the men's group today. And then over for the women, we've got Lainey Machant and Natasha Wodak, who've been neck and neck, back and forth, racing each other quite competitively this year. And Dana Pidereski, who's making a return after a couple of years of injury. I think we're also going to see that she's going to be a strong racer in today's half marathon.
It's very exciting. We've got picture-perfect weather here this morning. The temperature is just around 10 degrees Celsius. You couldn't ask for better marathon weather. You couldn't ask for better half marathon weather. Frankly, better road racing weather. It's going to be a great time. Should see some really fast times today. We're up here in the broadcast booth, and we're going to go down to John Stanton now for a few interviews in the start line area.
Well, thanks, Dan. I'm here at the start line with Kirsten Fleming, the race guru. And Kirsten, we're looking around here, and it's a fabulous morning, some 15,000 runners here. I know you're very busy, so I'd like to ask you just a few questions as to how things are this morning, how they're shaping up.
Yeah, the energy is absolutely palpable out here on the start line, so we're just thrilled to welcome runners from all the provinces and territory. You can see the elites around us all warming up and getting ready to go. It's a picture-perfect day. We really couldn't ask for any better weather, no wind, not even a hint up there in the studio. I know you can't tell. We've got the beautiful Jill Bellin from Breakfast Television on the stage welcoming everyone. The warm-up has happened and things are about to tick. There's a lot of action in here, so I'll throw back to John and hope you guys have a great race day out there. Welcome to Calgary, everyone.
Yeah, and to Calgary, there's some 15,000 runners here this morning, which is just absolutely spectacular. We've got perfect weather conditions. It's currently 9 degrees, clear skies, and we were looking at the flags. They're actually still. The pacers are all here. They're ready to run national championships in the half marathon. As Kirsten mentioned, some 15,000 runners participating this morning. We also want to send a shout out to those 1,300 volunteers that are there and the committee of the Calgary Marathon that's organized this. And I can tell you the national anthem is being sung right now. We'll throw it back to you, Dan.
All right, we're in the last couple of minutes before the race takes off. The weather this morning is picture perfect for running a marathon. Krista, what do you look for in the weather?
Well, Rob Watson once said that as long as the spectators are a little bit uncomfortable and have to wear a jacket, that's ideal for the runners. So we can see here that the runners have their sweats taken off, their long pants and jackets, and they're doing some strides to warm up before the start. We see John Mason there with his big beard. He's got a little extra insulation, and yeah, it's looking really nice out there. Clear, a little bit cool, and no wind, so it's going to be pretty ideal.
And what kind of a pre-race warm-up would the athletes be doing right now?
Well, the longer the distance, the less you have to do in the warm-up, which is kind of nice. So, probably about a 20-minute jog, maybe 15, some light stretching and just staying relaxed until the start gun goes off.
Give me a sense of the pace that these guys are going to be looking at, the elite men and women in the half marathon.
Well, I think, Reid coming off of Rotterdam Marathon last month, I don't think he's going to be looking for a personal best, but he'll certainly have, a good effort out there. I know his recovery from Rotterdam went well. So, yeah, he's gonna have a good race today, I think. And then Lanny and Natasha, who have been going, toe to toe for most of this year, they're really going to be looking at each other to keep the pace honest and to be going for the win.
Excellent. And pace per kilometer that these guys are going to be churning out for 21 kilometers?
It's hard to say. I think, like I said before, if Reid goes out or the lead goes out, maybe for a 64-minute finish, we're looking just over 3 minutes per kilometer. And then with the women, we're probably looking at, something just over 3:20.
And just to give our folks out in the audience a sense of that, if we're going in at 3 minutes per kilometer for 21 kilometers, that's the equivalent of running faster than, or running a 10-kilometer road race in 30 minutes. And these guys are going to be doubling down on that and going through twice the distance.
Yeah, so if it's a 3 minute kilometer, we're looking at about 63:15, and for the women, if it's 3:20 to 3:25 a kilometer, I think it's going to be about 70 to 72 approximately.
You can see our Maple Leaf mascot standing beside the starting gantry. Excellent. We can see the athletes lining up. They're eager with anticipation. We've got about 2 minutes before the start, so we're looking to get going here, and the athletes will be very anxious. We're down to less than 1 minute from the start line, from the start of the 51st Scotiabank Calgary Marathon and the Centaur Subaru Half Marathon and the National Half Marathon Championships. And the wheelchair is off. And we're off. We're off with the 51st edition of the Scotiabank Calgary Marathon Race Weekend. The elite runners are now running north through Stampede Park. As they head through the first kilometer, they're going to be leaving the park shortly. They're going to be running beside the Scotiabank Saddle Dome and out into the streets of Calgary.
It's a great morning, Steve, and I know you've been here before. Better conditions than we've got this morning. Absolutely perfect conditions. I think a lot of people are surprised this morning, especially after the last couple of days. But this could be some great time. We've still got to make sure they make the use of food.
So right now the runners are heading down into the first kilometer. They're going down to one of the hardest parts of the marathon, half marathon course, which is about a 5-meter dip under the CPR rail tracks. They'll be coming up in a second and turning right on to 9th Avenue, which is going to take them out through Inglewood in the eastern downtown portion of Calgary.
They're kind of mixed in now, so they're kind of coming up. I think this one in the white shirt there, I think that's a girl. Alright. Okay.
Is this good? Do you guys want me to keep following the lead men's? Yeah, thank you. Let's just keep following the lead men's. Yeah.
No, it's not. Oh yeah. No, I think all the colors back there, I think, are the girls. There's like yellow and orange or pink or neon or something.
Okay, we'll back down again now. Yeah. Second group just behind these guys.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 51st edition of the Scotiabank Calgary Marathon, the Centaur Subaru Half Marathon, and the National Half Marathon Championships. We're live to you from the Stampede grounds, and we're now looking at the runners going through Inglewood in East Downtown Calgary. Krista, give us a sense of who we've got in the race this morning.
Okay, right now you can see that Reed Coolsat is up at the front with the yellow shirt, and Kelly Weeb is right beside him, a little bit taller with yellow as well. And we've got Kip Kengogo in there, and I think that's probably Robert Winslow with this lead pack of guys. So they're looking pretty strong. It's a great day out there, nice and clear and sunny and a little bit cool, which is ideal for racing conditions.
So the athletes just turned north off of 9th Avenue. They're heading towards the Calgary Zoo right now, in and around 2.5 kilometers into the race. So the pace is looking actually reasonably fast at this point in the race.
Right, we do know that we've got the marathoners that are just a bit ahead of the half marathoners, so they might be having a really great race today, but of course that will, time will tell with that. With the men, it looks like, they're probably going to be going out sometime where between 3 and, 3:10 per kilometer. It's, early in the race, so sometimes you get a little bit excited, your pace is a little bit fast until you settle in. But having a group of 4 of them here, that's going to be really good if they stick together for as long as they can, and, eventually we'll see someone make a move and take a lead and pull away.
So we're at about 8:20 off the gun, so the start happened 8 minutes and 20 seconds ago. They're going across a bridge right now into the Zoo Island, and as soon as they take a left turn here in any second now, they're going to be just passing the 3 kilometer mark. So it looks like they're actually going to be a little faster than 3 minutes per K.
Right, so that's a pretty good start for this group. Reed is coming off of a great performance last month in Rotterdam, getting his Olympic standard for Rio, and that's where he ran a 2:11. So I know he had a good recovery. He usually takes about 10 days where he doesn't run at all and just really listens to his body and takes it easy. And then he just slowly built toward this weekend so that he could, approach it maybe a little bit conservatively. Likely won't see a PB today, but you never know if it's the right day for him and the conditions are great. Of course, we've got Kip Kangogo there, newly become Canadian, and he's really excited to be representing his country. Perhaps at the Pan Am Games this summer, we might see him, and that would be really exciting for him. Kelly Wiebe, he is the only elite athlete, I believe, who has participated in the 10,000 meter national championship, which is in London, Ontario, earlier this month, and then the 10K road national championship, which was in Ottawa last weekend, and now he's here competing in the national championships for the half marathon. So that's a pretty big accomplishment. Obviously a big racing month for him, but just excited to see him here racing today. And then we've got Robert Winslow. I think there, can't quite see, but he trains in Guelph, originally from Nova Scotia, and he's, I know, done a lot of training with the guys at Speed River, and we can just see him in that pack there today.
Yeah, just to give you a sense of the course here in Calgary for the half marathon, we leave the Stampede grounds. There's a little dip under 9th Avenue, which is maybe about a 5-meter elevation change, and now they're just coming off of the Zoo Island onto Memorial Drive, which they're going to spend a good chunk of their race on today, a little later in the day, and after they take a tour of southern downtown Calgary. But this is going to be the second tougher part of the course. They're going to have a slight incline here to go over Memorial Drive, but again, it's maybe if a 5-meter elevation change, not much. It's not going to be much that it's going to impact these guys, is it?
Right, that's, a big discussion today is, the effect of altitude and the different levels of elevation. And I think it's fair to say that it's different for everyone. We know that Reed and Laney have done a fair amount of training down in Kenya, so that might be to their advantage. But, some people feel they don't really get affected by it. So, obviously talking to the athletes after, they'll know whether or not they think it played a role in today's race or not.
Looks like Reed's kind of pushing a little up that hill, and Reed and Kip have pulled away a little from the other 2 leading contenders in the half marathon. Give us a sense. Do you think that Reed here is, I would say, the favorite in the race, although Kip is a fierce competitor? But do you think Reed's going to try and push the pace early to open up some space and then be able to I don't want to say relax, but not have to fight too much in the latter half of the race? Or do you think he's just going to go with the flow and then see where things shake out later?
I think Reed will definitely know what he's capable of running today. He might be a little bit conservative. Everything will be calculated, so he's going to know what he's in shape to run. And I think just with his experience, he's not going to go out too hard and risk an ugly ending. Certainly having Kip there with him will help keep an honest pace throughout the race.
So we're just about nearing in on the 4-kilometer mark. The half marathoners have now caught up to the lead marathoners. They took a little bit of a lead in the first few kilometers. They may have gone out a little too, been a little too excited for the start, but the pace seems to have also calmed down a little. We're looking at probably about 3 minutes and 10 seconds per kilometer at this rate, which is right on around a 70-minute finish, if I'm not mistaken.
For the men, a 3:10 per kilometer, we're looking at about maybe 66 for that.
66, wow.
Yeah. Now, so we do see, there are some runners that are in the full marathon, and they're wearing the red bib, and then the half marathon runners are wearing the blue. So if you are watching the screen, you can just take note of that. Right now, we do have Kip Kengogo in Reed that are leading the race for the half marathon, the Canadian Half Championships right now. And it looks like they are breaking a bit away from the chase back, Kelly Weeb, who's back there with the yellow jersey. And it's a nice, bright, sunny day, nice, cool conditions. And, that's really what you want with a nice early start of 6:30 this morning for these participants.
Yeah, so we're now in Bridgeland. Good morning to everyone who's now joining us on the Scotiabank Calgary Marathon Race weekend. We're looking live at the men's race in the 21.1 kilometer National Half Marathon Championships. They are doing a slight incline now into Bridgeland. They just passed the 4 kilometer mark. Looks like we're in and around a 3:10, maybe a little slower pace than that, but it's going to be a fast day if they stick with this pace today.
Right. We know that Reed is just coming off of getting his Olympic standard in Rotterdam last month, running a 2:11:24. So he had a good recovery from that, taking about 10 days of no running. And then he just, slowly built himself up into a bit of a build for this race at the end of May.
So we're climbing into Bridgeland, and when I say climbing, it's by any means, this is not a very hilly course. We're very flat 10K or 21 kilometer road race. Our 10 kilometer road race today is going to be very flat as well. Marathoners are going to have a little bit more of a challenge as they run up towards the southwest corner of Calgary, but certainly from the looks of things initially, we're on a very fast pace today for the marathon. I would expect, though, that over time that these guys are going to start back it off a little and play it a little more conservative.
Right. It looks like we still have Reed and Kip that are leading the group here. And, Kip he just ran the BMO Vancouver full marathon this month, May the 3rd. So he obviously recovered well from that. And, he's up there with Reed and, really doing well there today.
Good morning and welcome to the 51st edition of the Scotiabank Calgary Marathon. We're live here from the Stampede grounds in the Calgary Stampede Grandstand. I'm Dan Ouimet, the president of the Calgary Marathon Society, and I have Krista Duchesne here with me, who is Canada's second fastest female marathoner.
Great, thanks. Good to be here today. It's great weather out there today. Rob Watson says that if the spectators need to wear a jacket, then that's perfect for the runners. If it's just a little bit cool, nice and sunny, and not much wind. So it's ideal racing conditions for the athletes today.
So we're nearing in on the 5 kilometer mark of the men's race here, and the clock time is 16 minutes. I think we may have actually just missed the marker. So again, we're still on a fairly healthy pace, and if these men can take it up, and okay, if these men can keep up the pace, then they're going to be coming through and certainly a course record, sub 70 minutes, but we'll have to wait and see as we get a little later into the race. And maybe I'm going to turn it over to Krista. Maybe we could chat a little bit about the women in the race today.
Yeah, the men likely, will be going anywhere between 64 and 66 minutes today, early in the race. So here we have a good shot of Lanny and Natasha. So these two have really had a phenomenal start to the year. Going back to New York City in March, that is where Lanny was beat by Natasha in that race. And then they went and did a track 10,000 meter on the road, and that's where Natasha achieved the new standard, or the new Canadian record for that race. And they both got the standard for the Pan Am Games and the World Championships and the Olympics. So really great start for them. Lanny didn't run a spring marathon this year because she was focusing on shorter distances and getting on the track. And then last weekend we had the national championships for the 10K in Ottawa, and that's where Lanny beat Natasha for the first time of those 3 races. So we're definitely going to see a really great race. No surprise that the two of them are side by side today. They're really great friends, but they're also rivals. So when the gun goes off, it's game time, and the friendliness kind of ends at that point.
It's going to be an interesting battle on the women's side of the race today as well. As Chris has mentioned, that Natasha's had a couple of victories over Lanny, and Lanny took the victory last weekend in Ottawa at the National 10K Road Race Championships. But we're now up to the 21-kilometer distance. So maybe you could give us a sense, Chris, of what where's the middle ground for these folks? Because Lanny really is a marathoner, and well, I say that, yet Lanny is one of the fastest 10-kilometer road racers in the country, without question. But how is Natasha going to fare as she's transitioning up to a little bit further on the road?
Well, I think it's fair to say that the two of them are obviously phenomenal at 10K up to the marathon. Natasha debuted with her marathon a 2:35. That's phenomenal. We know Rachel Hanna had a 2:33 last weekend in Ottawa, and that's an amazing time for a first marathon. Yes, Lanny has our national record, but she's clearly proven that the shorter distance is also within her capabilities. Last weekend in Ottawa, she was only a few seconds off the 10K national road record. So it's definitely a great year. I think for the half marathon, you take a look at people's 10K and 10,000 meter times, you look at their marathon times, and you kind of look somewhere between. And we could see a win definitely from, it's going to be close between the two of them today.
Yeah, and as we can tell, evidence of what we're experiencing here on the screen, you need to be a fast 10K runner to run a half marathon and a marathon at the world class level. There's no question. You can't get by just popping out of nowhere and running a marathon. You need to be able to have that leg speed to turn it over that quickly.
Definitely, and you obviously have to have the endurance so that when you get that pace going, you have to make sure that you can take it right until the end. I know myself as a marathoner at heart. Any race that I start, I think, well, I have to finish this at a decent pace, because it's just you're in your head to maintain that pace to the end. I know when I had my best half marathon in Vancouver, I remember thinking it was so fast, and I thought, oh, can I hold this till the end? And you just push hard and make sure that you execute the plan that you started at the beginning of the race.
And we've just seen the women turn onto Edmonton Trail. They're heading south right now. They're going to be crossing the Bow River in a matter of seconds. So they're just past or going by the 6-kilometer mark on the course for the women. The time on the clock right now is 20 minutes and 20 seconds. So we're looking at just over probably about a 3:20 per kilometer pace. That strikes me as a pretty fast pace as well.
Right. We do know that Lanny has the record, which is 70:47. And, if they stick at a 3:20 per kilometer pace, we're looking at about 70 and a half, 70:21 or so. So if another record went down today, this would certainly be, it's just a phenomenal year for distance racing for both men and women.
So we see Lanny and Natasha heading over the Langevin Bridge. Langevin Bridge is named after one of our fathers of Confederation, so a bit of history here in Calgary. They're just about to take a left turn into the East Village and should be experiencing a lot of energy. There's always a good crowd in the East Village, and they're always making a lot of noise, and that energizes the runners without questions. Krista, how important is the crowd when you're running along and you're digging this deep?
The crowd, it's great to get you going. I think sometimes you can maybe pick up the pace if they get you a bit excited, somewhere in the middle of the race. Definitely in the end when you're hurting, you rely on the crowds to keep you going. So I think we're probably going to see Dana Podorski and Rhiannon Johns in the pack behind the lead.
So the men just passed by the 7-kilometer mark, and it's 21:42 on the clock, so they still are maintaining a pretty quick pace here. We have Reed Coulsad and Kip Kangogo up in the lead, and they seem to have opened up a bit of a gap on third place. It can't quite tell who it is back there. But
That's Kelly Weed back there
okay.
with the yellow singlet. And it looks like both Reed and Kip kind of looked over their shoulder when they made that turn. So they probably kind of want to know what's going on in the race. Obviously, Kelly is right there. He's got the lead in sight, so he's not going to keep them out of his mind today. And sometimes that's a great strategy for runners where they just stay a little bit off the lead pack. They just kind of see what happens ahead of them. And if they start to see someone start to weaken a little bit, that's when they start to make their move and they push toward, a possible victory.
So you can see the construction of the National Music Center in the background there as the men dip under the 9th Avenue, the CPR rail tracks. back over to the south side of the tracks and into the Beltline area of Calgary. They're going to be coming. They're going to be doing a big loop. They just passed the 7-kilometer mark, and you could see the 20-kilometer mark on the side of the road there. So that'll be where they come back. So they've got about 13 kilometers now of looping around South Calgary onto Memorial Drive, and it's going to be a beautiful morning. Just to give you a check on the weather, it looks like the temperature has just climbed over 10 degrees. So again, ideal running condition, and it's a perfect morning for running a fast time, and these gentlemen are going at it, as are the ladies in the women's race. But right now in the studio, we're going to take you to the CEO of Athletics Canada, Rob Guy. Athletics Canada is the governing body of track and field in Canada. So they're the ones who are responsible for track and field, but also road running. So as a national championship here in Calgary, we're extremely pleased to be hosting the national championships. And we have Rob Guy here in the studio, who is going to be telling us a little bit about Athletics Canada and how important is it to be hosting these kind of championships out in the community, Rob?
Yeah, it's really it's really important. It's road running is a big part of what we do, and the chance for us to be out here to have Calgary as the half marathon championship is excellent. Also, the opportunity to stream it live for the first time is great, and that's with the new establishment of athleticscanada.tv. It's provided us with a platform where if someone can't make it out to the event, they can't be here at 6:30 in the morning, but they want to watch it and watch their friends and family and some of our top athletes. It provides them an opportunity for them to do so.
Yeah, with Athletics Canada TV, this is a phenomenal platform that's going to be able to expose these elite athletes who are battling on the world scene. It's a consolidated location now where everybody can go and find some interesting information on the sport and see our best athletes perform.
Yeah, what's interesting this year is a little bit of a change up in the national championships. For the last several years, we've had the half marathon championships in Montreal, and they've been moved to Calgary for the next couple of years. The Ottawa Marathon Weekend used to have the marathon as the national championships, and now we've got the 10K there. And then in October, we're going to have the National Marathon Championships at the Scotiabank Marathon in Toronto. So it's really neat to see the changes. I know not racing this weekend, but being here, it's just great to get a feel for the city, the cowboy hats, and what Calgary's all about. And I think it's a great change-up. It's great for the country just to see athletes going where these races are, and just a greater variety in that. So great movement forward with Athletics Canada and where our national championships are being held.
So, Rob, how important is it to host these national championships and have the athletes perform on Canadian soil? What do they have to do? What does Athletics Canada? What does this mean to Athletics Canada to get them racing here?
I think it's important. Certainly we want to profile, our top athletes. Every sport needs to have stars. It motivates younger kids, other athletes to want to be like them, and so it's great when we can have people, like Lanny and Krista and Natasha on the women's side, and Reed and those folks, Eric and Kip, and those are great for the sport. For some people it makes it exciting part to be part of. The competitive part is important, but equally important, we want to be at an event where there's lots of people, lots of excitement. So here in Calgary, we've got almost 15,000 people. That's awesome. They're having a great time, and if we can include our championship part as part of the festival, as part of the weekend, that's a really good thing.
Right. One of our runners that we don't see here this weekend, which is definitely worth noting, is Eric Gillis. He has won the last 3 Canadian half marathon championships in Montreal. So we don't see him there today. He did win the national championship last week in Ottawa with the 10K. And I think that was his season finale. So he's just taking a bit of a break with his family, heading out to Nova Scotia for a bit of a vacation. And I think that we'll see him back on the road soon once he's rested up from that.
So just to give you a quick update on the men's race as well, what you'd be looking at live on your screen, they are just passing the 9-kilometer mark, and we're in the 27-minute range. So that it appears that the pace is still going along quite quickly. And Kelly Wiebe, it looked like had pulled back, although it seems like he's now dropped back a little from the 2 leaders.
He definitely has them in sight, and like I mentioned, he's definitely going to keep them in the front of his mind. We do know that Lanny and Natasha at 6K were going through at 3:20 pace, so that right now is record half marathon pace, and wouldn't it be great if we saw them keep that pace? We're now going to hear a few words from Lanny Marchant. We had a chance to speak to some of our athletes before, so we're just going to see what she has to say.
Natasha Wodak and I were teammates. We run for A6 Canada. Her and I have been racing all season. She got me at the New York Half, and she got me at the Peyton Jordan 10,000. And then I kind of turned the tables around in Ottawa last week at the National Championships and nipped her by about 10 seconds. So this will be another showdown between the two of us. It's fun. We get along really great, and we're equally happy for each other. But at the end of the day, we both want to win, so it should be pretty interesting on Sunday.
It was great to hear from Lanny. She's having a great year, and it's a super opportunity to get to see these athletes in their element. Obviously, I think people want to know what do they eat, how do they sleep, what do they do that's different. And both Lanny and Natasha, just a bit different than me, just with having kids at home. They travel more for races, kind of live out of their suitcase a bit more, but they definitely love it. That's what they are good at doing, and it really works for them. So they traveled to Ottawa last weekend and made their way over to Calgary this weekend. And I'm sure after this race they'll have a little bit of a break, but definitely be looking to train for something else.
Okay, it sounds like we're just about to start the 10-kilometer race here. And just to give you a sense again, we're looking live at the start line now for the Jugo Juice 10-kilometer road race. They are off, and they're heading north through Stampede grounds. Give you a sense of the Calgary Marathon, Scotiabank Calgary Marathon race weekend. As you saw earlier this morning, we launched our 51st edition of the Calgary Marathon. It was accompanied with the starters of the Centaur Subaru 21.1 kilometer road race, and now we're looking at the Jugo Juice 10 kilometer road race. Later this morning, there's going to be a family-friendly Good Life Fitness 5 kilometer road race as well, and also we culminate all of that activity with a kids marathon, which is kids log kilometers up until race weekend, and then they run their last 1.2 kilometer race weekend over race weekend, and they get their kids marathon medal. So this is really a whole family affair. We have approximately just over 12,000 people registered this weekend in all of the different distances. So it makes up Calgary's largest race weekend, certainly largest road race, and one of the largest race weekends west of Toronto. Not that Toronto's a big icon, but we're proud that we're one of the biggest in Western Canada. And we're now back to the live men's feed, and it looks like Reed is leading Kip, but they're still tightly bunched on going down 17th Avenue. Krista, we saw Lanny speak, we saw Lanny run. We've got Reed here. You mentioned Eric, and we've got Rob Guy here in the studio, CEO of Athletics Canada. Maybe the two of you could just chat about how exciting it is in Canadian marathoning. For the first time in a number of years, we had 3 men in the London Olympics. We now have my co-host